Time to check in with Tom Mulcair, our CJAD 800 commentator. This is brought to you by Guaranteed Industries. For your commercial, industrial, and residential air conditioning needs, Guaranteed Industries and Lennox, Montreal's leading experts since 1957. 514-342-3400. Okay, so Tom, I want to play a clip for you. Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland announced sanctions against Iran today. So here's the Prime Minister.
We will be pursuing a listing of the Iranian regime, including the IRGC leadership, under the most powerful provision of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act. This is a measure that has only been used in the most serious circumstances against regimes conducting war crimes or genocide, like in Bosnia and Rwanda.
Okay, so it sounds very serious, and yet I just wonder how effective this is. So permanently banning Iranian officials, some sanctions. Does this go far enough, Tom?
No.
Mm-hmm.
The Revolutionary Guard is a terrorist organization. It should have been declared as such. That's the request that was made, and Mr. Trudeau is trying to dress this up as something much tougher than it is. This is a step under our Immigration Act. It's meaningless, because when do you think the next time one of these guys is going to come here? But if you have a much more sweeping ban and you call it a terrorist organization, then it's not just limited to people trying to cross the border, as an immigrant or a refugee or the sort. So I think that Mr. Trudeau's trying to put the best possible face on it, but it doesn't work. It's not what was being called for, and it falls far short of what should have been done.
I'm glad to know my instincts were right on that. But then I got to tell you, when I heard that there was going to be an announcement at 2:00 today, your mind starts racing. Well,
Sure.
What's it going to be about? And we know usually it's either huge news at that time or it's something they're kind of trying to just sweep under the carpet. Which category do you think this falls under?
Well, this is the type of mistake that Trudeau's government has been repeatedly making recently.
Yes.
They get the signal from the public. They get the signal from the other parties. They understand their obligations internationally. They know what they have to do, and they try to get away with a half measure, dress it up as the whole thing, the whole 9 yards, and everybody looks at them and says, "Well, why did you even announce that? Like, why do you think they're going to be showing up at the border asking for visas? It's like, really?" So it's the type of thing. It's just a dumb move. Politically, it's a dumb move.
Yeah, and just because you make it sound tough and serious doesn't actually make it tough and serious.
Doesn't do anything. No, exactly. He was trying to pump it up as, these are the most extreme measures. Yeah, under the Immigration Act. Yeah, okay, whoop-de-doo. It doesn't actually do anything.
Okay, so let's talk about this. 31 people arrested for allegedly threatening candidates during this Quebec election campaign. Tom, do you think, is this just a blip? Is it a moment in time of unrest, or is this our new reality?
No, this is a new reality, and I have to say that Quebec's prosecutors, that goes through this unwieldy name, let's just keep calling them in English the Crown prosecutors, and the Sûreté du Québec and the local forces have gotten together, and they've got a big whistle, and they're saying, okay, that's the end of recreation. So whether it's going into, there was an example recently, in a municipality where some bully tried to take over the microphone, said he was running the meeting instead of the town council, and went up to the mayor with his finger under the nose. Well, the cops are going to get involved in that sort of thing from now on. And this idea that, because you've got a different idea, or somebody's been beating a drum, they tam-tam and been exciting people over a given issue, and that gives you the right to go into a democratically elected institution and start pushing around as if you can just decide in the place of everybody who's been elected. So that's a good thing that's going on here in Quebec. And I think that we're probably the province that's got the strictest rules right now, and it's got the police that's the most correctly attuned to the seriousness of this. Because, Natasha, we've been living the era of social media for real for about 20, 25 years. But it's getting much worse because people are emboldened. They go online, they find 62 other people who hold to the same theory as them. And instead of just staying on their computers and sending stuff back and forth, they're coming out of their computers now and they're showing up. They're showing up at rallies, showing up in the street. They're showing up on people's doorsteps. They're showing up with their fingers under a mayor's nose, threatening. That's the type of thing that's happening right now. And good on Quebec's Justice Department and our Crown prosecutors and our police forces for saying, no, we live in a democracy. This is the rule of law. Of course you're allowed to protest. It's in fact, let 1,000 protests bloom. That's not the problem. This is about threatening people. This is about intimidating. This is about trying to tell either a candidate in an election or an elected official that they're not allowed to do their job anymore because you've decided otherwise. those are the people that the police are going after. And I hope, if it's serious enough, that they wind up with a criminal record, and it's a lesson to all of them that this type of game is not on anymore. But unfortunately, we've got politicians like Pierre Poilievre, who goes to, the truckers who have completely illegally shut down the center of Ottawa and are performing illegal acts, and he knows it. But because he wants that part of the electorate on his team, he goes and brings them donuts and says that they're great. And then, of course, he tries to back away from it, and he tries to argue, well, I changed my mind when this or that happened. The base of it is he was supporting these people because he wanted their votes. Those are the people in politics who should have to pay a price for it. The same way he was caught, he says it was other people. He was caught with, this type of signal within his movies on YouTube, within his YouTube, to attract people who are part of these incel movements and others. These are not at all people who represent society. These are people who do things that are completely against women, and he should be ashamed of it, and he should have apologized for it. Instead, he went on the attack against Trudeau. So we're starting to get a measure of the man. We're starting to learn a lot more about Pierre Poilievre, how he plays the game, and it's not very savory.
I was in the most mundane example possible. I was thinking the other day about whether I was sitting in traffic and I was behind a truck that had a whole bunch of stuff like for the Freedom Convoy and F Trudeau and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, is it better that it's all out there now? And so people don't mind that they're making you uncomfortable and that they're saying, potentially offensive things and doing threatening things. Or before it used to kind of be done behind closed doors and whispers and murmurs. And I'll tell you, my bottom line with it all, Tom, was that in sitting in traffic, and reading the stuff on this guy's truck, I was just grateful my daughter wasn't in the car with me, because I don't know how to explain that.
That's a whole movement that's out there, because I drive a heck of a lot to come into Montreal because we live out of town, and I can tell you that on the big auto routes, you see these guys regularly. I mean, it's got two things. It's got the Quebec flag and it's got the Canadian flag upside down with one of the red stripes torn off it. That must have some profound meaning. And it's always the same sign against Trudeau and so forth. And you know what? There's nothing illegal about that.
No.
You want to drive with a sign on your truck telling this or that or the other politician to take a hike? Fine. It might not show a lot of class, but there's certainly nothing illegal about it. In fact, it's your democratic right to protest. What happens, though, is when that becomes a threat against the Prime Minister or anybody else, and it doesn't take much for it to cross that line. That's the new world that we're living in, Natasha, is people don't understand that you can protest, you can say things, you can use words, but if you go that extra step and you start harassing or threatening, then you're going to get prosecuted. And as I say, Quebec prosecutors are front and center on this stuff, saying, we're going after you. And I think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in peaceful protest, and you can be angry and you can try to effectuate change, but you need to do it peacefully. Let's move.
You
go
can
on.
do it angrily and screaming and all of the above, but you just can't do it threatening or violently.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I want to pick your brain a bit about Danielle Smith. So this is big news out of Alberta, new premier. She won on the 6th ballot. What do we need to know about her? Because I'm hearing the word populist come up a lot.
Well, of course, she's a populist in the sense that she has access to a lot of information. There's deep dive polling that goes to people like Poilievre, like Danielle Smith, like Donald Trump. They're all using the same strategy. They do deep polling, they do analysis, they have access to things, in Trump's case anyway, like Cambridge Analytica, which just had tons of information on every possible voter and their intentions and what their preferences were, and adapted and sculpted messages to that. Now, unfortunately, there's a streak in our society that they seem to be able to tap into, and it's a very intolerant streak. So that's why you wind up with another populist, François Legault, going after immigrants the way he did during the campaign. Even worse, of course, were the hateful comments of his immigration minister. Imagine being the immigration minister and saying things that are hateful and completely false about immigrants, so that people will have the worst possible opinion about immigrants. And that stuff works, unfortunately. So I think that we will wind up at some point with this thing coming full circle and getting back to decency and good, strong values, and not feeling that it's okay to play constantly to the lowest common denominator. Unfortunately, right now, that's where we are.
That is where we are. Let's leave it there. And I wish you a wonderful weekend and a very happy Thanksgiving,
You too.
Tom.
Have a great weekend. And by the way, Danielle Smith's going to turn out to be not quite as bad as everybody's predicting.
Phew.
she's a politician. She's also got a good head on her shoulders, despite all appearances to the contrary.
Okay, well, that's a better note to end on. I'll take that one then. Thanks, Tom. Have a good one.
Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too.